Hi, this is Seth Semela from the Haute Lawyer Network, and today's a great day as it is going to be another one-on-one with our members, but this is actually going to be two-on-one as it's our members of Greg and Janie Martinez Ward. So we're going to be introducing both of them. They're our partners of the Ward Law Firm. It's a personal injury firm located in Miami. So let's start out with Janie. Janie is an award-winning attorney who's dedicated the last decade to serving the Spanish-speaking community. The Ward Law Group has expanded to over 150 employees worldwide and has advised hundreds of clients on a wide array of matters. And Gregory is the founder and managing partner of the Ward Law Group, one of the Florida's largest and fastest growing car accident firms. Ward is an experienced courtroom lawyer in negotiation. He fights tirelessly to make sure car accident victims in Florida receive the compensation they deserve for the physical injuries and financial losses. So first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
Well, in your bio, you've obviously are one of the fastest growing firms in South Florida. Tell us, or actually in the nation, tell us a little about the beginning of your career in law. Like, why did you choose your specified areas?
So to understand a little bit about where, our history, I want to talk a little bit about my story. So I came to this
Please.
I came to this country when I was 14 years old. I actually crossed the border. I was born in Cuba, then went to Venezuela, Mexico, and from Mexico to Texas, I crossed the border. And that was the first time I was faced with the laws in the United States. Obviously, I came with my mom.
And how old were you by chance?
14 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so I came with my mom and a backpack and my little brother, and immediately at the border, we were separated. I went to a foster home where my parents, my mom went to jail where they were going to decide whether we had legal status to stay in the United States or to be sent back. And when obviously I was separated and I was taken to a foster home, there were people making decisions in my life. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't speak the language. I only spoke Spanish. And they were like big decisions made about my life without me understanding the process. Eventually, after a month of being in foster home, we were released, we were granted legal status, and we took a bus for 3 days from Texas to Miami, where we started our life. And I feel that experience marked me because I can relate to an immigrant coming to this country, not understanding the laws, not understanding the ways to even do basic legal paperwork to obtain residency, to obtain a work permit. And that's what we do today. We help immigrants who are involved in car accidents, who are injured, and we explain their rights in a simple way that they can understand it and they can make good decisions about their case.
Let me rewind.
Sorry, Greg. If I could tag on to that a little bit. So when we decided to start the firm, I had a legal career and I sort of was a serial entrepreneur. I started several businesses and I grew up, lower middle class or upper lower class. And law was the way for me to be able to provide for my family going forward. When I met my wife, I had sort of several failed businesses. And I said to her, why don't you go do immigration? That's the obvious choice for someone with your background. And one of the things she said was that, and this was 12 years ago, that I can't really make a difference in immigration. But where I can make a difference is in car accidents, because when you have a car accident, somebody's hurt, they probably lose their job, they're going to lose their home if they can't get medical treatment and the kind of care that they need. And, this is maybe many of them are traumatized and the legal systems where they come from aren't great to begin with. So they don't trust the law. So bringing her sense of, of her perspective and her history and her authenticity and honesty, she felt that she could make a difference for these clients. And I was on board because I had a background in claims against insurance companies. And I thought it was really important. And so we started with that. And, some of our story with a fold out table and a little laptop computer because we were very.
Let's rewind real quickly because I like Jannie's. I want to go in there. So, Jannie, you came to America at 14. You moved to Miami. What made you want to become a lawyer when you were in college before you got to the business? Why didn't you want to be like a professional tennis player or, a doctor? What made you want to be a lawyer?
She wanted to be a dancer. That was her
Okay,
thing.
a dancer.
Wanted to be a professional dancer, like,
Okay.
on stage and entertainer. So
Yeah, so my fantasy was to be a dancer. I really enjoy dancing, but I realized that I needed to fight for myself during those times and really understand the law and really understand the legal rights for a person. And that's what really on 10th grade I wanted to go to University of Florida. I wanted to study to become a professional, and I understood that if I didn't get a legal education, if I didn't understand the legal process, I couldn't advocate for me, I couldn't advocate for my family, and then I wanted to fight for others.
Well, before we get into how you built your business, which I think is remarkable, I appreciate you sharing your story because I think it's a remarkable story how you came to America and, with nothing, as you said, a backpack on, and you went to school, you went to law school, and you're now a lawyer. So now we talk about, you get your law degree. Were you guys married when you were in college, or how did you guys meet, if you don't mind me asking?
So we met while she was in law school.
Okay.
And I was a practicing lawyer, but I was a disaster. As I said, I had a series of bad things that had happened to
Well,
me.
you said you had a couple of failed businesses.
A whole bunch. Like I had some deaths, and my father and my sister both died within a year of each other from cancer, and had some really bad things happen to me personally. So I was sleeping on a couch when we met. So it's a little bit funny because sometimes people are like, "Oh, maybe she was kind of with him because of money." I was several $100,000 in debt when I met her, and she was several $100,000 in debt.
Yeah, I think you guys were between both you, maybe you 600 in the hole, 600 that
450,000 in the hole.
So yeah, we met during the my second year of law school. I said, well, I'm in law school, so then I need to find out what actually lawyers do. It's not only the courses and the theory part, but actually the everyday practice of the law. So I went to hear a speaker and to meet more lawyers, so I could decide the path that I really wanted to take. And that's when I met my husband. The minute that I saw it, I had a sign from God that told me that's gonna be your husband. I know it sounds like a crazy story, but one of our principles is like very faith-based, and then from there on we're connected since that launch, and we're still 12 years together. And
well, let's rewind, because you guys you met in law school, and then
she was in law school. I was an attorney already, right?
Yeah, no, you were an attorney and Jenny was a lawyer. You get out of law school, and then you decided to start the Ward Law Group. It's almost like Microsoft, where you started it in like a garage. You started it with a foldable table and a laptop and a 250 square foot office space. Take us a little back about the early days, because obviously when I interview lawyers and doctors, they get the degree, they start their business up, and then the next part is, okay, how do you get customers? What next? So tell us a little about that.
Before we tell you that, I wanted to add that we also started with $460,000 in debt. So we were like -0 when we started. Yeah. So that was a key aspect, because most people will find it crazy to start a business with so much debt and basically no clients. So we really took a jump here, but you want to... Yeah.
So I did have a few clients from my previous firm, and I had left the firm and decided to go start my own law with my wife. Although we were only dating at the time, I think we were engaged maybe, or we were talking about getting engaged. And I told her, I said, listen, I think we could do something really special and really amazing, but I can't afford to pay you anything. I could give you gas money. That's it. And she took that job because she had a job offer at the state's attorney's office, and she took that job. And it's funny because her mom was a very conservative Christian woman. And so we'd be working at 10 o'clock at night, and her mom would call the office saying, hey, listen, you need to come home. Young ladies don't stay out this late. And she's like, I'm working, Mom.
No, she didn't realize, well, that's what's so remarkable, is because we interview such successful lawyers and doctors. At the end of the day, you have to have an entrepreneurial spirit, because, as you build a business, it's not like you just build it and the phone starts ringing. So what does the Ward Law Group do that distinguishes the firm from the rest? I mean, you've obviously built it to over 150 employees. It's one of
Yeah,
the.
we're 200, by the way. We just counted. That was last quarter's number. So we're at 200 now. 200.
Okay. Well, that was the bio I got. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, we definitely can divide ourselves into two people. Greg is the entrepreneurial side where he knows how to scale and, you know, like kind of like build systems and processes in order to scale. I'm more like the artist, I guess, you know, the dancing aspect haunts me, where I love connecting with people. I love listening to people and getting to hear their stories. And that's how we started. We started just basically talking to people, offering our service and making it about them, just making it a service and basically very tailored to them. At the beginning, I would go to people's houses, I would talk to them, I would give free classes, I handed out my business card in the church that I attended during that time, and that's actually how I got my first client.
But I think that's an amazing story, because when we do this, you know, it's really about how you got to where you got to. And a lot of people don't realize, you know, to be successful, it's not like it comes overnight. You have to roll up your sleeves, work, and you've built, I mean, now to 200 employees. I mean, you're living an American dream right now. And that's what America's so great about, is here's someone that came to America. You had all odds against you. When I'm saying all odds, you had nothing going for you. It's not like you had family. It's not like you had connections, you know, not like you got out of college and you had a family of lawyers. And so that is what's remarkable when we interview successful lawyers such as yourselves, is it's never easy. And usually the successful people do what it takes. And what you're talking about is like literally building your business through word of mouth. But the next question you kind of talked about at the beginning, but it really, you know, you answered at the beginning, so the question's kind of already answered, but I'd like you to kind of go more into detail, is how you inspired your decision to focus on really being a niche and helping the Hispanic community.
So I'll kind of talk to this because my wife was a little too modest in the last question, because she said she was the artist. My wife is by far the very best marketer, television personality, and radio personality you'll ever meet, particularly in that community. And so to answer your question very sort of, you know, directly, you have to know what you stand for. And my wife was standing for the immigrant community. I was standing for the immigrant community. I had passion to serve this community as well when we met. That I know some of the struggles that they had gone through. I lived in Miami for many years before that, so I could see what was going on. And so what we did is, you got to know what you stand for. And this is like a business principle. And we stood for our clients. We stood for the people who were most vulnerable. And we said, we're going to treat them with dignity and respect and humanity. And that's going to be underlying everything we do. And so we committed to that, and people could feel that we really cared about them, and we really tried. We didn't always win everything, but when we care and we would explain things to them and take the time to treat them with respect, because she comes from this background where people never treated her with respect. And I saw some of that starting out in our firm too, where, she may cover some of the stories where she was treated with disrespect, even by the legal system as a lawyer.
Yeah.
And the struggle she had to overcome. And, I observed it, but it just didn't impact me because I was a white guy and, people expect me to be a lawyer. When I walk in a suit in a courtroom, no one's thinking I'm not the lawyer. But we just made a commitment, absolute commitment to serving our clients and putting them first. That's our first core value, is service to the clients. And we just kept doubling down on that. We'll do our best to never compromise, a client's case, and do the best we can to get the best result for them. My wife has a story. I'll ask her to share it, about how when she was in law school, she was flat broke and couldn't buy a Diet Coke. And that kind of was a story that she carries with her. And it's, every dollar matters for these people. So it's important we give them 100% of our efforts. So.
Well, again, you answered my next question, is how your firm has made a difference in the lives of the people you represent. And I think because for someone like myself, or maybe anyone watching this, or even someone that might be in a position where they're an immigrant and they get in an accident, how do you protect them, or what do you do for them? What are their rights? If you could share it a little bit.
Well, the first thing is to understand their story and where they come from. And I think that has been one of the keys to our success, knowing that we can relate to them, knowing that we can explain the law in a very basic, the law seems to be very complicated, and you go to law school to understand what these words means. And now you narrow it down to simple words, and we explain it to them in basic rights. And basically they have a right to get medical treatment. regardless whether they have status or not in the country, whether they're documented or not. They have rights to fix their car, and they have a right to get monetary compensation for the injuries that they suffer, you know, for the rest of their life. We settled one of the biggest cases this year of, you know,
over 100 million.
over
100 million.
Yeah, for one
Yeah.
client. Yeah.
It's a confidential settlement, but it's over $100 million for a client that, you know, we basically walk him and the family through the whole process because they didn't understand. They didn't speak the language. They were lost. So that's what we like to do. That's our passion, breaking down the law into simple terms that people can understand and make better decisions for their life. And I feel like I can relate to that. I feel like if somebody would have explained it to me in my language, in Spanish, and make this and explain it in a way that I could understand, I could have made better decisions for my life. But
I don't think it's you. I think it's everybody. I think a lot of people come, and that's also why we like to do these interviews with lawyers such as yourself, and hopefully someone's watching this, because, you know, people, you know, don't probably know their rights, and it's not easy. Who do you call? And as you said, if you call people, like, you know, most people, if you don't specialize in this, probably are a little bit not easy to work with. It's probably a very intimidating process for the client.
Well, and let me just add on to that particular comment. Like traditionally, right, you know, the caricature of a lawyer is a guy who's kind of like me, right? You know, I use big words, I talk fast, you know, I'm not, you know, and so, and if you're a person who is an immigrant to this country, that can be very intimidating because most of the people, I should say most, but many of the people in their countries who are in the legal system, there's a degree of corruption. And so they don't trust the legal system already. And then you have somebody who's a fast talker. And so and many times in their countries, you know, the only way to succeed is to game the system, if you will. And we have to explain, you know, obviously it's very important to always tell the truth. You know, anything that's bad, we can deal with if we know about it, but so don't lie. And, you know, and that relationship then develops in trust, where they learn to trust us and we learn to trust them, and we can do a good job for them. But there's a huge bias against the legal system. And usually people who come to hire us, they need to bring a claim because they're maybe a housekeeper or a mechanic or, you know, a dock worker, or, you know, somebody who's loading trucks. And if they hurt their shoulder, they're out of work. They're and they can't feed their families. And so they have to do claims. It's not like, you know, somebody's just trying to do a, you know, quick claim for, you know, for money. And we've been blessed with handling some of the more serious cases and been able to get good results for people, fortunately, thank God.
100 million. Well, Greg, unfortunately, I have to ask Janny this question. Your accomplishments as a Hispanic female attorney, particular in breaking the glass ceiling for minority women in your field, are significant. Can you tell us why this cause is so important to you? And obviously, I mean, do you ever pinch yourself and really say, like, I'm living the American dream?
Yeah, I think that I still don't believe it, that I am living the American dream, because it's not only about me at this point, it's about leaving a legacy for other female Latinas in the country. Currently, only 2% of lawyers are female Latina lawyers in the country.
Only 2% of the lawyers are female? I didn't even know that.
Only 2%. Partner-wise, the numbers even dropped down 1%.
Wow.
Of our female Latina partners in the whole United States. I know when I saw the statistics, I was shocked myself. I can't believe I'm part of the 1%. So that's where I'm like, okay, but I don't want it to stop just with me. I want to give an opportunity for younger women, female attorneys, minorities, that they can see that there could be a balance, that it could get done, because we're the biggest minority in this country, but we're the second highest dropout rate in high school. So Latinas are not getting even finishing high school, much less higher education. So for me right now, that I've gotten to this level of success with my husband, is about empowering other female women, that attorneys, that they could go to law school, that there is a need for women to represent their own ethnicity, Hispanics. And I think that has also been the key to our success, that, you know, they can feel understood with both of us, and that they can relate to us and my story.
And what advice, Greg, since you're the entrepreneurial part of the team, would you give to inspiring entrepreneurs who hope to achieve similar levels of success in their respective industries.
Sure. Well, and to be clear, my wife is an entrepreneur too, right? It's, you know,
No, but you said she's the dancer, you're the entrepreneur.
Yeah, no, I got you. I get my own question. Thank you. But no,
I didn't want to leave you out. That's all great.
You know, we were, both of us were biting our nails, working 60 hours a week and hoping that we would get, you know, something done. And that, you know, is the red badge of courage, right? That's
Actually, if you don't mind me interrupt before you answer the question, because I didn't ask earlier, what type of law were you doing before you started the Ward Law Group and got in?
I started doing securities fraud defense. So I would defend companies, and this was pre-Enron. So it was like an Enron claim, but before Enron. So Enron changed the game. And then I did insurance coverage and some what they call commercial litigation, partnership disputes. And then I would do some claims against insurance companies before. So I had a variety. I did door law for a time when I started my own firm for the first time, and then that failed. And so, yeah, I had a background of this, but I'd also started a car dealership and a property management company and some other businesses. So I had really a broad business experience before this business.
Well, in our interviews of top success entrepreneurs, it usually takes anywhere from 2 to 8 businesses to have a successful business. And
that's right.
The key is you didn't quit and you kept fighting. And, you know, it's not easy to go through failed businesses, but, you know, you're not going to win if you don't play.
That's right. And you know, it's not how many times you get knocked down. It's how many, I mean, these are cliches, not how many times you get knocked down, how many times you get back up again, but that's the honest to God truth. Yeah, now, don't be dumb and don't do the same dumb thing you did last time. You know, I call that this, you know, the stupid tax. If you fix it once, okay, you got an education. If you have to fix it twice, you're paying the stupid tax now because it's on you. But to get back to your earlier question about, you know, the advice I have for entrepreneurs, I think, you know, this is business is a great thing. I think you have an ability to bless a lot of people. But to be real clear, one of the early mistakes I think I made was I made it too much about the money. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but I can tell you that money is merely a result. It is not the goal. If you say I want to be a billionaire or 100 millionaire, you know, I was chasing the dollar for a long time, and that I made some decisions, I think, you know, in order to try and think what I would be more profitable, but it just ended up making me make bad decisions. When I put my clients' needs first and say, you know what, the money's going to be the scoreboard, but that's not the goal. That changed the complexion and trajectory of my business. Secondly, and I think this is probably more important, is you've got to have your faith worked out. And by that, I mean, you have to know what you stand for. You have to know, for me, I'm a man of faith. My wife and I are both Christians. And so we have a lot of faith that God has called us to do certain things. And you got to kind of have that belief, at least in something bigger than yourself, because a lot of times you say when you get knocked down, you need that faith outside of you to pick you back up again, because you know your ego, it just isn't enough. And then lastly, and I think also for us in particular, you got to make sure your marriage and your family is on board. A lot of people get into business, I see this, they get into business to try and fix a home problem, right? They think if I could just make enough money, you know, or whatever, it will solve these issues. And the fastest way to destroy any business is if your partner, your spouse is not on board 100% with the sacrifices you got to make. And, you know, if you can't sell them your vision, you know, you need to think it through a little more clearly. So my wife and I are blessed to be able to work together. We have the same vision. And I think that's a big reason why we're able to scale as quickly as we possibly can, you know, 50% growth year after year, sustainably over 8 years, I believe it was. And continuing into next year. So really, you know, excited about that, but it's because we're aligned 100% on our mission. And so those, you know, 3 things, I guess, are super important if you're going to start your own business.
Well, I have a quote that says teamwork makes the dreams work.
Yeah, right.
So Gianni, looking ahead, what are your future plans and aspirations for the Ward Law Group? And how do you envision the company evolving in the coming years? I mean, you growing at 50% a year. Can you continue to grow there? And where do you see the company in 5 years and 10 years from now? And then after your answer, I'd love to hear Greg's.
Yeah, so right now we just opened our law firm in Manhattan, in New York, on 5th Avenue. That happened around 4 months ago. And we want to continue to expand, obviously, where we continue to have minorities. No, that's him.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sharing your website as you're talking about that.
Okay.
Just showing website.
So we continue to expand. We want to expand to New Jersey and Texas as well. But like I mentioned before, I not only want to make it about myself, I want to make it about others. So eventually I want to open my own nonprofit to help displaced immigrants And displacement could happen because of political reasons, but because of natural disasters, any type of reasons why people have to leave their own land, and teach them and guide them and giving them an opportunity like it was given to me to fulfill their American dream. So that's where my true passion
And I
is.
assume you're watching what's going on in today, and just it's probably very emotional for you.
Yes, and that's one of the main reasons why we decided to open in New York, because there's a lot going in New York, and there's like over, I don't know the specific number, but millions of Venezuelans going
It
directly.
doesn't, it seems a little bit different than probably when you came and these other, and today, because it seems like it's more like people are coming and they're promised things, and then they're here and they're not really getting, they don't know what's going on, and they're going on buses. So it seems like it's a little bit different than probably when you came.
Yes, it sounds, it's kind of the same and different. It's a lot more volume and masses,
Yeah.
but it's a lot like me, where I felt like you hear stories, but you don't really know the truth until you get to America. And for us, like, getting to America is the dream, and that's where it begins, really. And understanding those rights and understanding what the next steps are, I think is part of my calling and my mission.
And I got to tell you, I believe you're going to accomplish that and find something that could be beneficial, as you've done an amazing job in a short period of time. But it seems like you're in the second inning of a 9-inning ball game.
Thank you.
And how about you, Greg? What's your plans, or where do you see the Ward Law Firm going in 5 to 10 years from now?
So you know, I have a lot of ideas as an entrepreneur. You know, I'm always,
No, I can tell.
you know, I get
You're ready.
and the thing is, you know, I went to a Tony Robbins seminar a few months ago, and he said, listen, if you're doing it right, you can do more in one day than you could do in 6 months when you were younger. And that's the truth, right? So now, like, if I want to do something, I can pick up the phone and in one day I can make a lot of things happen. So I have to be careful what I commit to, because once I commit to something, I'm going to do it, right? So what, you know, the one guiding principle about growth for the law firm is that I will never sacrifice the client's results for the sake of growth. So what does that mean? Well, you know, we track, you know, our settlements for clients, we track, you know, the various metrics. And if I see that the settlements we're getting for the clients begins to decline, but in favor of our larger gross revenue, right, our larger number of clients, but we're not able to do as good of a job, I'm going to slow that growth down until we're able to make sure that we're doing the very best for our clients. So that's something that I've always been committed to, that, and I think that's fueled further growth, because people see, you know, we get the best results over and over and over again. And, you know, there's a lot of people who just begin to sacrifice the clients and say, okay, I want to make, you know, X amount in revenue, but they don't really think about what that means to the client. So for me, I'm always maintaining that we're getting the best value for each case. And then, you know, we can grow in a reasonable way. Although 50% is aggressive growth, you know, but the truth is we just, you know, we've got some software systems and things we can scale pretty rapidly now, even more so. And some of the, you know, the VAs, virtual assistants offshore that we're using. So we've got a lot of strategies to do that. But the limiting factor is always going to be quality of the clients. And then what's my growth projections? Well, I think we can continue to sustain growth, at least on a market basis. So Miami, we're up there. We're probably going to slow down to 20 or 30% growth per year. New York is, you know, 100 to 200% year over year. We go to other jurisdictions, I think we can match that growth curve. So I think we'll have sustainable growth for at least 5 to 10 years, because we can always just go to a new market. There's still a lot of big markets that haven't opened to us yet, or we haven't gone there yet. So I'm excited about those opportunities. I've got some other ideas too, that, you know, probably be doing some interview with me later on where we do something, other crazy idea, and you're like, wow, who thought, you know? But
no, I mean, one of the things is, you know, we're fortunate because we do these features, and, you know, it's so amazing to meet people that put their heart and passion into their business and create magic. And you put it the best when you said, Greg, when you stopped worrying about making money, but just making history, that's when your business went to the next level. And I you know, we've never had the luxury of interviewing a husband and wife team at a law firm. And
we
so
give each other high fives then.
Yeah, this is the
So
first that we've done. And so it's obviously an honor to have you as our partners, as our Haute lawyers. But I would think anyone that would need assistance would be like, it would be an honor to work with your team. And I really appreciate you guys sharing your story. as, you know, showing the humbleness, showing the humility, but now obviously all that work is paid off to building a successful business. So I really thank you today. And I can't wait in 6 months when we do another interview to see the new stuff that you guys are doing.
Well, thank you so much. And
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.